Excited.
So to be fully transparent, this is my first actual podcast. Come for us with your pitchforks.
Don't cancel me. This is my first podcast. You can't cancel me for the first one.
Hey y'all, welcome to the first episode of our Awaken Your Podcast. Today I have with me Rachel Ackerson. Did I say that right? I probably should have asked you that before we got started. Of Ritual Fitness and Nutrition. And Rachel, would you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so excited to be here. Before we started, we were just talking about like how we've had all these conversations and all this connection over Instagram, and like we're finally face to face, and I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm pumped. My name is Rachel. I am a weight loss and life coach. I own Ritual Fitness and Nutrition, and I help women lose weight and manifest the life of their dreams.
I'm sorry. My dog is choking. Are you okay?
All of this has to make it in somehow. Like you have to cut this in, because this is my favorite type of podcast. Like this, like just conversational and goofy, and like just having good conversation.
Same. I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you, but I didn't want your beautiful introduction to have my dog hacking in the background.
Well, you're taught that like you have to have a tagline, right?
Yeah.
Like on Instagram or whatever. Like you have to have your anti-elevator speech or whatever they call it these days. And so it's like, I help women do this.
Oh yeah. I feel you. Okay. All right. Continue with your introduction.
That's it. So I'm just really glad that we're doing this, because I've been wanting to get into this space. I've been wanting to do podcasts, and this is such a great first podcast for me, because I'm so comfortable with you, and I feel like we have a lot of really fun stuff that we get to talk about. So like I'm very pumped for this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So getting started, did you think about what your word's going to be for the Awaken Your?
So it's 2 words, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course, that's fine.
Inner strength, your inner strength. God, I guess that's 3. I guess that's 3. Your inner strength. So,
well, I mean, awaken your, and then
awaken your. Okay, so, inner strength. So yes, 2.
Oh, I like math.
Yeah. So with what I do, and I feel like we'll get into a lot of this stuff, and especially because you and I just like we kind of vibe in what we're doing. Part of my initial marketing, even when I was training in person, before I got into more of the like inner, deeper work and the nutrition side and things like that, my initial branding was find your inner strength. And it's so applicable now. It wasn't quite as applicable when I was training in person and that was my business, but now that I'm doing what I'm doing online, it's so applicable. And so yes, I think awaken your inner strength is like,
yeah, I love that. I was going to ask you why you chose that, but I guess that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah. It's
do you want to talk about like what that means to you?
Yeah. So with weight loss, because I guess I'll like back up just a little bit. So I became a personal trainer and a nutrition coach after I went on my own health journey. I lost 50 pounds. Yes. And I got really sick with an autoimmune condition.
Also can relate.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And that's like, I'm like, that's on my list of things for us to talk about, with medical trauma right at the top. Awesome. But I had an autoimmune condition. I got really sick. I was in a really stressful career, and that wasn't a good fit for me. And I got really sick, and I gained a lot of weight, and I was not living my best life. I was not happy. I was not fulfilled, and I didn't feel good. I was sick, and when I went on my own journey with my own coach, I had a lot of these really big aha moments that I had never experienced before when it came to weight loss in my body and my own journey. That was all about my internal shit and not about the plan.
Yeah, right.
And so when I realized that first I knew I couldn't keep doing what I was doing because I'd changed my life, but I realized that my job was a big reason why I was still suffering and struggling. And so when I realized I knew I couldn't stay there, um, I and I decided to do what I'm doing now. I knew that I wasn't meant to just create a plan and give it to people. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was what I was meant to do was to usher and like lead women who are in a similar place that I was in and show them the light, to show them the aha moments. And like it is
Mm-hmm.
all about that internal shit. And it's not
Yep.
about, I mean, yes, like we want a good plan, and that's a
Yeah.
big piece of the puzzle
Mm-hmm.
to
But it's
help
not the
you.
whole. Yeah.
No, like not at all.
Yeah. It's like a portion, not even the biggest portion. It's just a
No.
portion.
Right. Just knowing that you have a good balanced plan or like a realistic plan or a custom plan
Mhm.
for you is like very important to do dealing with the inner stuff. But man,
Absolutely.
that inner
It
strength
gives you
of
that consistency.
yes,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
yes.
interrupt. I just wanted to add.
No, no, this is
Yeah.
great. I love this. And so the inner strength, like when I think of inner strength, it's not a woman or my or your capability to, it's not really like traditionally what we think of strength. It's more
Mm-hmm.
like our um capabilities to like be empathetic to ourselves and like our
Absolutely.
self-trust.
Yeah.
Because like with what I do specifically, I talk about diet culture and the diet cycle a lot. And the diet culture and the diet cycle really tear down our self-trust. We think we're the problem. And so
Yeah.
that was a big aha moment for me because I was like, oh, I can follow through on stuff. Like I can do hard things and I
Yeah.
can handle a lot of things when I felt like I was always the problem. Turns out
Yeah.
it was unrealistic expectations from diet culture. But so yeah,
Oh,
so that's kind of where that comes from.
imagine that.
Yes, surprise.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt,
No,
but yeah,
okay.
no, I absolutely love that. I relate a lot in my own journey. That's why my slogan is Awaken Your Truth, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like um I relied so heavily on outside stuff. And then when you find that inner strength, you're like, oh, I don't need this outside stuff because, like you said, I can do hard things. I I do have the ability to do all these things once you find that inner strength. Yeah. So I feel you on that.
Yes, yes. I think like that that piece of like just like with your slogan of like awaken your truth is like it really does like awaken something in you that
Mhm.
like
Changes your
okay,
life.
yeah, like what is my truth? Like what is the path? What do I like? We're
Hmm.
like
Or what works for me, because what works for one
right,
person won't work for somebody else, possibly. Right.
exactly. Like we're like Julia Roberts in that movie where she's like, I don't know what kind of eggs I like, right? Like
Yes.
that's
Oh,
kind of
Runaway.
what,
That's in Runaway Bride.
yes,
That
that's the
used to be one
vibe,
of my
right?
comfort movies. So
Yes.
I've seen it a billion times. Yeah.
She finds her inner strength and she awakens her truth and
Yeah.
finds out what eggs she likes.
Yeah.
It's but that's like um
I think as women, that's very common too, to take on that kind of chameleon energy and subscribe more to what other people tell you to do or how other people tell you to feel or whatever. So like when people ask me, I know this podcast isn't about me, but I want to share when people ask me like, what exactly does awaken your truth mean? And I'm like, who are you before everyone else told you who to be? Before the world told you who to be? Like, who are you? What resonates
yeah.
with you inside? Because I think a lot of people sadly can't even answer that question. And I get it because I was
Yeah.
one of those people.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
and like
I
you,
mean,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just like you said, though, once you figure that out, you feel that responsibility to kind of usher people that were in the same position or are in the same position, or even if you are in the same, kind of like you, I feel like we're kind of on the same thing or the same, oh my God, what am I trying to say? That doesn't make sense. The same wavelength, right? But we
Yeah.
can still offer that community to one another to take it even to the next level, you know?
Yes.
So sorry,
Yes.
what were you going to
Well, and
say?
well, I was going to say like I think too that this like self-identity is it from a very young age can be pushed on us, you know. I was raised in Texas, and Texas has the gifted and talented program for what they think are gifted and talented students, I guess, which I don't know how you know that for somebody who's in first grade, but okay. um, but so being put in the gifted and talented, I just always thought like, oh, I'm smart, or oh, I'm gifted and talented and I don't have to try. It's like this natural inherent ability that I have, which is not true.
Yeah.
Like that's not a true thing, you know? So I had to like learn the hard way how to work and study and do all these things through education and then onward, because I thought I was just naturally good at things. But it turns out like, bitch, you gotta fucking work at shit.
Yeah, I had the same mentality, if I'm being completely honest. Like, even into high school, I got A's and B's, and people were like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know, I don't study.
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Like you just think,
Yeah.
and it's because it's this like this label that's put on you when you're little. And it's, I know that this is a totally different subject.
Yeah, that's okay. We can go wherever the wind takes us.
Right. but it's kind of like that when we talk about like who are you? What do you like? Like what who are you before the labels? And I think you're totally right. Like, especially with women, we tend to like that exact. I loved how you said
kind of
that.
Put in a box.
Yes. And we adopt this the chameleon energy. Like I love how you said that, because it's like, here's the personality that I specifically curated and made for you. You should love it because it's yours.
Yes. I saw a TikTok that said that, and I was like, I feel attacked, because that's absolutely what I did for the majority of my life. And I think that very much like lends itself to people pleasing as well. And I think a lot of women are very much people pleasers. And I think that that is what gets you into that energetic state of not being yourself, not being true to yourself, not living a life that feels fulfilled. And then I actually think that even goes a step further into manifesting into autoimmune diseases and things like that. So
real. Like, so when I talk to clients about, when we talk about building habits and routines, and I just taught a class on this, because we think I could go on about this, but so when we talk about building habits and routines, it's like, I ask people, you know, what do you want your daily life to look like? And it's like this, it's almost like that is like that first kind of aha moment of, wait, I can make my life look the way that I want it to look. Cause I think so many people get stuck in these ruts. They get stuck in these thought patterns. They get stuck in these action patterns, and they think they have to live their life this type of way.
Yeah.
But then when we talk about weight loss, they also think that to lose weight, it has to look a certain way. They have to live their life a certain way. And that is usually like, you have to suffer and struggle to lose weight. And that's just like totally not true. And so when I ask people, I'm like, well, what do you want? It's almost like this dumbfounded, like, oh shit, I don't know.
Yeah. I think also that people think that what they want is unrealistic. Like, I think that people are like, oh, well, it doesn't matter what I want because this is what's realistic for me. And I'm a big proponent of that, because I'm like, okay, a year ago, I was living in a house in San Antonio, and now I'm in my RV in Arizona. I'm like, your life can look like whatever the hell you want it to look like.
It really, really can.
And like, people feel like they don't have a choice. Yeah. And you do.
Yes.
You always have a choice.
You do. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I don't want
to be insensitive, but
we're putting stuff out on the internet. I know that
don't come for us with your pitchforks.
don't cancel me. This is my first podcast. You can't cancel me for the first one. Exactly. So I know that there are like limitations in people's lives. Like like a single mother with 3 kids that owns a business, like her life is very different from, from my life. Like I own my own business. I work from home. I don't have any free. I'm child free. I'm not planning on having kids. So like, our 24 hours looks very different.
Yeah.
But you can manifest the life that you want. Like just from my own experience, like I very much felt trapped and stuck in this loop. And even now, like owning my own business and being an entrepreneur has been very healing. In like this, I can try things and I can fail at things, but I get to do that. And it's
Yeah.
exciting to try and fail things. Whereas before I was very scared to do that and
Yeah.
expand and be bigger and do bigger, and didn't think that I was capable, which is a big piece of the self-trust. This is like everything is just like this big
Yeah.
cycle, I feel like. And but now it's like, oh, like I feel like I could like build anything at this point, which is
Mm-hmm.
I Rachel 3 years ago did not believe that with
Yeah.
any inkling at all. Yeah. So it's
I totally relate. I don't know if you saw the post I put up the other day, but it was like, does anybody, or yeah, the other day, literally it was yesterday. I was like, does anybody else feel like they're not the same person they were a month ago? Like, I just look at the posts that I put up on Instagram like a month ago,
yes.
and I'm like, that was me? Or
I
even
don't know
like,
her.
yeah, or even like, before we got on our call, this is going to sound kind of bad, but I got hired for a work camp position in Florida. I actually had my interview this morning and I got hired.
Oh my
So
gosh.
actually, the video that comes out right before this is going to be about RVing and work camping, because I feel like it's this like gatekeeping RV secret that nobody knows about work camping. So I'm sharing that. I already
I'm
filmed
excited.
it. I just haven't edited it yet. So it's going to come out right before this. But yeah, so I got hired for that job, but then I was like I told her, I said, I have experience with social media. I can help you guys. And so she sent me a thing and said, hey, but she was like, oh, here's our TikTok if you want to take a look at it. And I was like, before I add her as a friend, let me go through, because I've had my TikTok for a while. And I was like, make sure there's not any incriminating things on there, because some of the things that I used to think, I don't think anymore. And it's not that I'm ashamed of that. If someone came and said, hey, you posted this thing, or I think I used to be a little bit more bold with sharing things,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way where I didn't articulate myself in the best way that I would have. Like, I feel different
Yeah.
now, if that makes sense. And so I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, I don't want this out there as a reflection of me, because it's not a reflection of me, but I'm also not afraid to be like, hey, I changed my mind and here's why. I think a lot of people are scared to say, I changed my mind or I changed my life or whatever. And they
Yes.
feel, like you said, trapped or whatever. I don't know why I started talking about that, but I was going through the TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through, and some of them aren't that old. They're literally from 2021. And I'm like, who is this person? Who is this person? I don't even recognize her. And I think that is not to say we always have to be like striving to change and grow and whatever. Because I feel like that also can become toxic in a way where
Yeah.
people feel like they have to constantly be striving to make progress. But it's really cool to look back and go, oh, wow, I've changed a lot as a person just in the last 2 years, because I think that's what we're meant to do. Like, I always think it's funny when
Yes.
old friends of mine are like, you've changed. And I'm like, because we're supposed to.
We're
You
supposed to.
know?
Why haven't you?
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Yes. Yes. It's I'm going to plug my business coach real quick
oh,
because
go ahead.
she's the one that said this to me. So Emily Sincata, I was in one of her group programs and she was talking about being a coach in any industry online.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about how coaches, we want to help people, but we also want to be seen as authorities. And because we have this drive to be seen as an authority, we are fearful of being wrong. We're fearful of changing our mind. Um, and so we back ourselves into this corner. But when you give yourself the freedom to change your mind, to change how you think or change what you think or change your opinions on something, you have all of this room to run and expand and grow. And like you can go in the directions that you want to, because you're not being like, this is what I believe 100%. And this, like, I'm hard and fast. This is the hill I'm going to die on,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really big aha moment for me, like personally and professionally, of like, it's actually a good thing to change your mind. Like
Yes. Yeah.
in any industry, like science is always changing. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
you've got to be flexible and to be able to say, like, you know what, I used to say this and now that's wrong. Or,
Oh,
and this is
yeah.
why I think that.
I used to be a big if it fits your macros person,
Mm-hmm.
but like not in a healthy way. So
Yeah.
um and it's funny because I wrote a blog like, oh my gosh, it was probably like 10 years ago now. And I'm like, I would be so interested to go back and read that blog about if it fits your macros because what I knew then as far as
Yeah.
weight loss stuff was very different than how I feel now, which is funny because back then I was coaching people, but I was in the military,
Yeah.
doing their, oh my gosh, unit health promotion coordinator job or whatever. So, which is basically like a weight loss coach. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but within the military. So,
Yeah.
but it's just funny because like everything I learned back then is like so different. Like it's in 10 years, it's just completely changed what we know to be true, right? Or,
Yes.
what works or
Yes. And like, even like, I look back at how I was coaching people online even a year ago. Um, and I'm a different coach. Like,
Mhm.
and my private clients that have been with me that whole time, because I have some clients that have been with me for over a year, well over a year.
Mhm.
Um, I was just doing some math in my head. I don't like, how long have I been doing this now? Because that's not right. They've been with me for a while.
Yeah, I
And
gotcha. I have no
they,
concept of time either.
no, none. Well, especially since we moved last year. And like, what was last year? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Um, but even they have said to me, they're like, you're stepping things up. Like, I can tell a difference in your coaching.
That's
And
what you
like,
want to hear.
exactly. And I really like, I'm becoming more and more like obsessed with being a good coach, because like when you start a business, it's like, okay, I need to make money, I need to pay my
Yeah.
bills, like I need to make sure that this is a successful business, and
Well,
that's
you
all
also
there.
don't know what the hell you're doing. So,
No, no,
and I
I
will
still
fully,
don't know what
yeah,
I'm
I'm not
doing.
saying you specifically, but anybody starting out,
Everyone, you
it's,
shouldn't.
yeah. So
If you were an
you have
expert,
to
you'd
trial and error. You know what I mean?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm definitely in my business. I'm in this like, and I love talking about business stuff because just like I said before, I feel like entrepreneurship and owning this business and doing this has been so healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm the worst person to ask for like corporate job advice because I'm like, quit, start a business.
That's I also that would be my advice as well.
Yes.
I am
So
unhinged.
a little bit. I have big quit energy. So don't
Yeah.
ask me unless
Yeah.
that's the advice you're looking for.
Yeah. I'm like, if you're
But
unhappy, it's gotta go.
gotta
Yeah.
go. The vibes are
You'll
off. Yeah.
you'll figure it out as you go. Everybody,
Yes.
when I quit the military, people are like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know, but it's gonna be better than this.
It's not this.
Yeah.
And that was my energy when I left finance. I was like, or when I was thinking about leaving finance, I was like, I don't care what I do, but I know this isn't it. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot do this the rest of my life. I was also like just resentful in general because I got sick, not necessarily at like the company in particular or anyone
Yeah.
there. It was just more like resentful at the situation that
Yeah.
I had found myself in. Um, and just being sick and stuff like that. So yeah, it was, um, I thought my microphone just moved.
On its
Just,
own?
yeah, it's
This
on
is
a
now
hinge.
this is now a ghost podcast.
Yes. Um, I don't know if I bumped it or what, but it's on a hinge, so it could just like
Oh.
fall off at any moment. So I don't know. It's an Amazon special. So, um, but and I had a point to what I was saying about, oh, I feel like in my business, I'm in this like really fun, messy action phase where I'm just like
Trying
trying out
shit.
all of these. Yeah, I'm just trying shit. Like well, I did a master class and then I did a 3-week course, and the 3-week course was fine, but I can
Girl,
tell
you're
that like
always coming out with new stuff. I
I'm
love
trying
it.
everything. I'm trying everything because I'm
You're
like,
like,
what
I have something new coming out. And I'm like, you just had something new come out.
all the time?
she's,
Because I want
she's
to
over
figure
here
out
rolling.
all the things. I know somebody the other day messaged me on Instagram, was like, girl, I need a newsletter. I cannot keep up with all your new shit. Which is probably, like if anybody's watching this that owns a business or has done like online business, you're probably like, girl, you need to slow down. You need to one or two things at a time.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, I want to figure out what kind of eggs I like. I want to figure out what I like to do.
Yep.
And to do that, I have to try things and I have to experiment and I have to fail. Cause like my 3-week course was okay, but it definitely wasn't as successful as I would have hoped it would be. So I realized, okay, 3 weeks is a little too long. Like now I'm going to bring back macro magic, which is my free masterclass that I did as a 3-day masterclass. Yeah. And so just like trying out new ways of doing things, trying out group coaching. Like I'm just like doing this in-person thing. Like I'm just like, I'm going to try all of it and just see what I like, just where the wind blows me. And I'm learning that like, I love Zoom rooms like this. Like, this is awesome. Like we can have like a very like connected experience and you can really connect with somebody like this. And especially when we're talking about weight loss, like we want to build that trust and that connection there. And like, I love this. I hate Instagram lives. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be okay with those. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Cause even it's not the same kind of, what am I trying to say? Engagement with your audience, because it's weird because everybody's I feel like I'm in a fishbowl, right? Like everybody's watching you. You can't see them.
I hate it.
And you're just reading their comments. And then it's like, you'll get on a roll talking about something and you're like, but then people will comment and you feel like you have to stop and answer people's comments. And it's a very odd dynamic for sure. So I feel the same way.
I very much like feed off of people's energy, like seeing their body language, like, and just being able to see them. And so when that piece is gone, it's like, I don't know how to communicate anymore.
Well,
like
there's no real connection.
No, there's no feedback. Like there's no like, are you enjoying this conversation?
Yeah, words are not the same as like facial expressions. Yeah.
And then you turn it into comments only. Like it's totally lost on me. Like I just forget how to human at that point. And they're so awkward. I just don't think I'll ever be okay with them.
I mean, I think we were just following like wherever the conversation took us, but I know you said you had some points that like talking points for us. So thank you for planning this podcast, Rachel.
Do you know your human design? Are you into that? Have you done anything with that?
Oh yeah. Okay. I always get them confused. The human design, I'm a reflector.
Okay. I'm a manifester.
I think my husband's either a manifester or a generating manifester, one of the two.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious because I feel like we vibe. But that's
everybody feels like we vibe because I'm a reflector.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I started my photography business back up like on the side. And one of the girls that I met at the gym, we like barely knew each other. And we rode in the car from one space where we took photos to another space. And she was just telling me like her whole life story. And she's like, I don't know why, but I feel really comfortable with you. And I'm like, I'm used to it.
Yeah. You're like, this I've got some big reflector energy over here.
It makes me a really great yoga teacher.
So. Yeah, no, 100%. And a great podcast host, because like, because it's just like everyone is going to be so comfortable. It's, but we talk about like planning, like, and I'm a Virgo as well. So it's like big planner.
That's so funny because my husband's a Virgo. I get along great with Virgos. I'm a Cancer. So yeah.
I wish I knew more about astrology. I'm definitely not like super informed. But yeah, I know that I am definitely a Virgo. Typical.
Yeah, I tried to dabble more into it and like figure it out, but it's very complicated.
It's a lot.
Like, it's way more intricate than I think people give it credit for.
Which I think human design is like it takes
extension.
Yes. And it makes it understandable. Like I feel like I can understand human design so much easier than I can understand zodiac, like astrology.
Yeah, same.
It's creepy accurate, which is weird. Like
I got as far as the big three signs.
Yes.
I'm like, I can understand that. because it talks about like your emotional, like your sun is like your personality or whatever, you're like your core personality, and then your rising is how you present to other people, and then your moon is like your true emotional self or something like that. Again, I'm not an expert, but
all the astrology babes can come in and tell us what it means.
Oh, hey, if you're an astrology person and you want to come on the podcast,
we need you.
Yeah, and we need an explanation because this stuff is complicated.
It is.
Yeah.
I know my three. I do know my three, but I'd see, and I didn't remember how the three affected me. I just know I'm Virgo, Scorpio, Scorpio.
I totally see that for you. Yeah. It's funny because like I don't know about every sign, but I know about signs of like people that are close to me in my life. So like my husband's a Virgo, and it's so funny because also when I really hit it off with people and I'm like, what's your sun sign? And they're like, I'm a Virgo. I'm like, why am I not surprised?
You're like, of course you are. Of course you are.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel you on that. But did you want to talk more about the human? Was that one of your talking points?
Oh, no, it wasn't. But I was just. It is now.
Like, did we go down a rabbit hole? Should we come back?
No, I think I was just so like with the human design. This is totally like we're going off on a rabbit hole, but we talk about like we've been talking on this thread of like finding what you like and finding like how you like to live your life. And human design was kind of like this because it's woohoo, right? Like it's spiritual, it's energetic, but I could like reflect and see myself in it so clearly that it helped me be more mindful of the things that I like and how I like to live my life. So that I can do things a little bit more comfortably and naturally for the way that I like to do them. So like as a manifester, like I get these huge energy bursts to do things. Like I feel the pull to try things and bring these things to life. And then I like it's not like a crash, but it's like then I don't feel the pull anymore. So like I take a step back. And I used to think that I was inconsistent or like all these negative things that like I wasn't able to follow through on things. And it's like, oh wait, that's just not how I naturally do things. And so now instead of feeling guilty about the way that I do things, I'm like, oh, I just lean into it, which is
or people will be like, oh, you're ADHD or bipolar or whatever. That was my personal favorite because I mean, I have a tendency to kind of do the same thing, I think. But I think for me, I think it's totally normal for inspiration to be fleeting. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible to be motivated 24/7. So you have to find things to motivate yourself. But on the flip side of that, you have to be like, okay, well, to be my best self, when I do feel inspired, I have to also honor that time of rest, you know, and give myself a break. Yeah. And I think actually, I literally had this conversation yesterday with my husband. I watched a TikTok video that literally made me cry. And he was like, why are you crying watching it? Some lady talk on TikTok. And I said, because I've never I've never felt more seen or understood myself better. And it's not something that I talk about a lot or even tell a lot of people or even say anything because I think there's a stigma around it. And I also don't like labels and stuff, but something my sister and I have talked about is I was like, I think I'm a little bit on the spectrum for autism. And my brain works differently than other people. And it's like stuff that I've been told my entire life was wrong.
Or a negative.
Or negative. And the more I learn about myself, the more I'm like, this isn't wrong. It's not negative. It's just different. And if I learn that it's different and I learn it's okay, but I know myself more deeply, then I can learn how to make it work for me.
Yes.
And one of those things specifically, the thing that made me cry is that because I see things that other people do and I'm like, I like say like mean things, for example. I'm like, I would never do that. Why would that person do that? And I take things super personal. And I know we're again getting off on a rabbit hole, but even the people closest to me, like I have very high expectations that are almost impossible. And I'm very critical of other people, which it's funny because a lot of people that know me, especially from yoga, would be like, what are you talking about? You know, like they don't see that side of me at all. But the people closest to me do. And I never understood. I always just thought that was a negative trait. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm this way. And I can't make it stop, you know?
Yeah.
But that girl's video, she really dived into it and really explained it. And she was like, once I understood this about myself, then I could work through it versus like shaming yourself for being the way that you are, you know? And so I feel that 100% like so hard.
And it's such a journey. Like it's not that like you just like you learn these things about yourself and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm at peace and love and light and everything's great, right? Just like, because I get that question.
Girl, don't get me started.
Yes, I
cannot do the love and light bullshit.
No,
like, but you teach yoga, and I'm like, no, duality, friends.
Yes, well,
it exists.
And like we're supposed to. Yes, exactly. Because like I get that question all the time. Because like anytime I like have posted my own body and my own transformation, I do get DMs asking me about like. I mean, even like down to specifics about like cellulite and things like that. And, or like, but a lot of it is around like loving and accepting your body. And I just posted about this, like when we talk about like acceptance versus self-love, like self-love. And I don't want to sound pessimistic. And maybe there are people out there who just genuinely, truly have this pure love for themselves and their body. Like we're talking about their bodies specifically.
Yeah.
But I think that it's, and I had
You're nicer than me. I call bullshit.
I
call bullshit.
I'm like, maybe there's a unicorn out there somewhere, right? Like, I hate to talk in absolutes, but
right. That's true. Yeah. Right? I always say that. I really dislike when people talk in absolutes.
Right. There's a unicorn out there somewhere who's just like, I like pure, like when I say like, I love myself. I truly think that I love myself. Like there's times where I'm like, am I a narcissist? Which is not true.
You know what my therapist told me? My therapist told me that if you're questioning if you're a narcissist, you're probably not.
I was just about to say that.
Those people don't question themselves.
I also don't think narcissists go to therapy like we do.
Yeah, I think there's like a very small sect of those people, because there are people that I've seen on TikTok where they're like, I'm a narcissist and I go to therapy and I'm trying to change myself. But I think that's like unfortunately, I think that's a very, very small percentage of those people. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, but I accept myself. I do accept my body. There's times where I like 100%, I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, not your best. Or like, you know,
but
like
that
this
fluctuates.
Day to day.
That's something normal too, that I had to come to realization for myself.
Yes. And
your body's not going to look the same
day
throughout the entire month. Yeah.
Right. Or even morning to night. Right.
Like,
And
same. I wake up and I'm like, I'm a skinny queen. Yes. And then I eat food.
Yes. And then you're like, here we are.
Yeah.
And there's times too where like, I love that you just said that, because it's not just acceptance of like your body, how it is, but it's acceptance of like your thoughts and feelings and like that's okay. Like we're not meant to be like these love and light creatures. We are dual. We have duality in us.
Experience all spectrum of emotions.
Yes, you should be experiencing all of them. And I work a lot with clients. Like we work a ton again on the inner stuff, which is our inner dialogue and shifting our mindset and shifting our thoughts and shifting our words, because it's so powerful. When we talk about manifestation, like language is so powerful.
So yeah,
like that's a whole nother topic probably, but it is so powerful. And so if you can just be like, I accept this, whatever this is, like it's such an amazing like switch.
I saw something the other day and I hesitate to share it because I'm like, I also wanted to steal it for my own content.
You can always cut this out. And hey, I am my art professor at Texas State told me that nothing has been done in the way that you will do it. Because in the art world, you copy, you do something somebody else has done, you try their style. And even if you do something very similar to them, it's never been done because you've never done it.
it's a different expression. So I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Not to get off into like a sidebar, but
Right.
that's why I think it's really lame when I dealt with this specifically in New Braunfels. And y'all are about to get some tea because I know people want the
Ooh.
tea, and I know
Yes.
I know people know in New Braunfels, but there were yoga teachers that opened, or yoga teachers that were welcoming to me with like open arms, and then there were ones that were not and were kind of mean girls towards me. And I was like, well, this is stupid because you're running this super hoity-toity expensive studio, and I am not. I'm literally giving yoga away for free, basically.
You're like, it's a different
I run
vibe.
a nonprofit. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're bringing in two different crowds of people,
Right.
But then like I've always told people, I'm like, because people are like, well, doesn't that hurt your feelings, or don't you feel some type of way? And at first, yeah, because like I said, I take things personal, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Why is this person doing that? But on the flip side of that, I'm like, or even, I've also had an experience with other people copying me.
Mm-hmm.
And not just like, I feel like there's a difference between like taking inspiration and then just like straight up copying.
Yes.
And a friend of mine sent me something, and she's like, isn't this annoying that this person's doing this and copying you? And I was like, yeah, like it's like you said, human emotions, like you're just meant,
Yeah.
like you just,
Well, you're protective of yourself. Like you want to like, especially
well,
when
it's
you
also
work.
annoying. It's also annoying when you feel like you're being yourself and you're being raw and authentic and real, and then someone else takes that and they're not being raw, authentic, or real, and you're like,
Yes.
that's not you. Will you just be yourself?
Right. Right.
If you would just be yourself, you would be successful too. And I'm always so hesitant to talk about this because I'm like, I don't want this to come off the wrong way.
No.
But
Go
back to
ahead.
what you sorry, back to what you said, like I finally accepted. I'm like, well, even if people are copying me, or even, like, for one, no one's gonna do it like I'm gonna do it. And I know that. And then two, people are not gonna like me that are gonna like someone else, or vice versa. People aren't gonna like them and they're gonna like me. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But where it becomes a problem is like where I'm able to accept that and other people are not. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That sounds like a you problem, sweetie. I'm sorry.
It's a disconnect. Like it's a huge disconnect. I want to kind of jump back to the like copying thing, because I think
I'm glad you remembered where we were at.
Yes. I think there's just like with everything what we're talking about, like there is a duality. And this is like why in all of my coaching, I swear I'm like, here's one side, here's the other side. Like everything is just in balance. And that's how we should be doing life. But my computer just gave me I'm about to die. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to have
no
to.
Worries.
Okay. How's that? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. It's through the camera now. It's not through my microphone. I'm going to leave it here though.
Oh no. Okay.
I know. It's when my computer wants to die, I only have 3 of these USB-C things. And I have 3 of them and I only have 2 plugs. Okay. This is a good learning opportunity.
It's okay. You just have to adapt.
Yes.
Sorry.
So the lighting's going to be a little different later on.
That's okay. People aren't here for how we look or how we sound. They're here for the content.
Thank God.
But I do remember where we were at before we went off on that tangent. And that was me telling you that I wanted to copy this girl's video. Well, not the girl's video, but what she said in the video. Like she put text over it, Yes. And it said, you cannot heal a body that you hate. And I was like, that's a message I want to share. So I was like, you know how it is when you make content. I was like, I'm just going to do a video of me doing yoga and plaster that over it. I just haven't done it yet.
Do it.
So
do it. I think with like stuff like that, it's like, we don't think twice about sharing quotes from other people. Like we don't think twice about like sharing similar messages, right? Like the creator of like Live, Laugh, Love isn't out there chasing down all people. Right. So, I think I like with that kind of stuff, like I'm like, if it is true to you, right? Like, and it's like your like
Well,
a
and I'm
message
also
you want
not
to
saying
share.
like, I'm not like, I made this quote up. You
Right,
know?
exactly.
This isn't my original idea. I don't think I honestly, I go back to what you were saying about your art professor, I think
Yeah.
you said.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that somewhere else too, that like there's very little like purely original
Very
thoughts out
little.
there. It's
Yeah.
usually just a different expression of the same thought, which I think is actually very important because um not everybody's going to receive the message that you're
I
putting out.
agree.
And that's why I think it's important too. Like, there's literally room for everybody. There's room for
Everybody.
all of us.
Everyone, we need
Because
more people. Like we
yes.
need more individualistic expression, which doesn't mean, just like you said, it doesn't mean some coming up with something brand new. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I think about what I do, like my coaching, like there is nothing, even though it can feel brand new to somebody because they've never experienced weight loss like this, like I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything revolutionary here,
Yeah.
people. Like I'm not doing any, like I did, this is not like the Rachel method or some shit like
Yeah.
that, right? Like
It
this
was
is
it's the same thing with me teaching yin yoga. I didn't create
invent,
yin yoga, but
right,
I do teach it in a way that people are like, no one else teaches it like you.
right,
Even
right.
if they
Like you,
try to, they're not.
right,
So,
exactly, because they're not you. And
yeah,
I think that
exactly.
like inspiration and emulating somebody that that inspires you
Mm-hmm.
is great. Like I emulate my business coach. I emulate other coaches in this industry because I think that like the way that they're doing things is really inspiring. But that doesn't mean that like everything that I'm doing is an exact copy,
You're
right?
not like over here taking notes,
Right. This isn't like a
like
Sabrina
modeling
Haley
yourself.
situation.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my, okay.
I
I'm like, we
know.
won't go
No,
down
we're
that
not going
rabbit
down there.
hole.
We're just going to leave that one right there.
Okay, but I just need to know, are you team Selena? Yeah. I actually had never tried Rare Beauty, and
Uh-huh.
because of that, I bought Rare
Yep.
Beauty. I was
Yep.
like, let me try it.
I looked at it. I almost did.
Well, people were like talking so positively about it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I just want to try it for myself. So she released the lip oil. That's actually what I have on today.
Do you
But it
like
like
it?
leaves, well, so when I first put it on, this like there's no like true neutral shade. So I tried to get like a neutral brown. And when I first put it on, I was like, this is dark, for my
Yeah.
skin tone. I was like, and then but then over time, I really love the color that it fades to. And then you can
Okay.
it's like a lip stain almost, and it
Oh,
doesn't come
okay.
off on my drink. And I know we're getting off on a little rabbit
A
hole,
little,
but
that's fine.
yeah, I love the lip oil. And then I got her liquid blush because I like
Oh,
liquid blush or like a balm blush anyway. You literally, girl, have to use one dab.
one
I
down.
made the mistake the first time of
You're
doing
like,
two. I did two, and then I started to pat it in, and I was like, I have made a grave mistake.
you're like, I see washing my face in the future. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just like kept patting until it like
It was on your fingers.
it wasn't so intense. But no, I'm actually, the hype is real. Like
Yes.
she deserves it because I also really love, I love the messaging of her brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important. Maybe that's something we could talk about as well, is like, I think the messaging of your brand is so important. And like, what I really love about, you and I have talked about how our brands are very similar, like we vibe. And I think it's because it's very, very much from a holistic approach. She
Yes.
does that with her makeup stuff, right? She's like, I'm trying to put a good message out into the world, not just sell makeup, and that's kind
Right.
of me. I'm trying to put a good message out in the world, not just teach yoga. And I think you feel similarly.
I do. Yeah. Like it's not, I'm not just trying to like make you a smaller person. Like we're trying to make
Yeah.
your life well-rounded and better in all aspects. Cause we tend to think of all of these things as being separate of each other, right? Like
And it's not.
it's not, right? Like we
Yeah.
think of our physical health and our mental health and our financial health and our social health and our like our familial health. Like we think of all of these things as being separate, and they are, when you stop thinking them as being like these separate things and as being part of this holistic, full spectrum wellness kind of thing. And I try to be careful because I think when we say whole language, right? Like when we talk about holistic, and we talk about wellness, like in wellness culture, like you can kind of go real hard in the other direction. And just same thing with body positive. Like there's extremes, right? So when I say holistic, I mean like full, like deep wellness, deep health, which is
encompassing you as a whole person, not as a meat suit.
Exactly. That like you want to like fit a specific mold, right? So it's so funny, the conversations that I have with clients. Like that's why I just changed my title from weight loss coach, which that was a whole thing. Like finally I felt like I was coming out as a weight loss coach, because it's like there's a huge stigma around it.
Yeah, it's not the climate right now, for sure.
Right. And so when I was like,
do we want to dive into fat acceptance?
Right,
do we want to touch that?
I know we really are going to get canceled just like day one. But
people are going to be like, that's an evil laugh. But I'm like, everything is nuanced, okay?
It is. Yeah. Everything isn't like, people like, oh man, we're getting into all kinds of shit there. Hold on, I'm going to back up.
Okay, sorry. I'll let you finish your thought. Was there something that you wanted to say first?
I was just going to say that, like the conversations that I have with clients are so surprising sometimes. And that's why I added life coach to my title, weight loss and life coach, because we have business conversations. We talk about hiring staff to help them. We talk about,
you've been my life coach for free.
Yeah. like we talk about conversations with our spouses, like about how to support. Like we talk about we talk about difficult situations in our lives, like living with somebody who has addiction, like all kinds of things. Like these conversations are not just like, did you hit your steps? How were your macros? Did you hit your protein? Which of course we talk about those things, but the experience is like, and it just has kind of happened naturally. Like, I don't know how to coach in any other way. I realized like, I don't know how to be casual.
Well, because all of those things affect your overall health and any potential weight loss or sustaining weight loss or sustaining a healthy overall well-being. All of those things are part of it. And I think that's where people go wrong, is they try to compartmentalize and don't take that into account, and I think that honestly is the key to sustainable weight loss versus, what we've been shown as millennials, especially growing up in the 90s.
Yes.
So with diet culture. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, oh man, like thinking about, my brain just buffered. That happens to me a lot, where like I have a thought and then it just buffers right out. Like, it's just like, nope, that's not happening. But we were talking about like all of the things that,
you're fine. You can take your time.
So we're talking about like the things that actually get in your way. Like when we compartmentalize and we separate out like what we want to do, we want to lose weight and things like that. We separate it out from all the other aspects of our life. We think it's separate. One of the things that I talk to so many of my clients about is trauma. And we talk about the effects that trauma, like the way it manifests in our life. And I started, and I am personally going on my own journey. We talked about therapy just a second ago, but I'm realizing that I have unresolved trauma that I have to address, and I have to heal if I want to achieve the next level. Like I've done a lot of healing on my own.
I have a lot more than I thought I had.
Same. I used to think that I was this like very like laid back and like go with the flow and optimistic kind of girl. And now that I'm in therapy,
you are on the inside.
On the inside. It turns out I'm highly anxious. Now I'm going through EMDR therapy to help reprocess
Ooh.
these traumas. And not that I have any big traumas, you know, if my mom sees this, like, just know there's no big
Love you,
trauma.
mom.
Yeah, it's fine. But it's a lot of little things, just like from
Well, I
childhood,
think,
like things that you
yeah,
experience. And
I think that people don't understand either that to have trauma, it doesn't have to be like um it's very subjective from person to person. Like it doesn't have
yes.
to be this big, huge thing. Now, some of mine are, oh my God, it's windy outside. Good thing we can't hear it in here.
No, I can't hear anything.
Usually when it's windy outside, like the RV like is crazy and you can hear it. But I actually think my AC is working in my favor. It's like drowning a bunch of stuff
Yes.
out.
I can't hear anything, so that's amazing.
Okay, perfect. But I just looked out the window and saw like shit flying by.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's windy out there. Squirrel. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I think that people assume it has to be like some big life altering trauma. I think that
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily true for everybody. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and that's why like people, you know, my sister and I have talked about it with her raising my niece, and I've helped her a lot. She used to always joke that because my niece's dad wasn't around, she's like, you're her dad now, you know. So, but you know, her and I have had discussions where like, are we messing her up? We're trying to do better, you know, than we were
Yeah.
raised. But it's like, even if you did the best that you possibly thought you
Doesn't
could,
matter. Yeah.
something's still going to happen that could be perceived as traumatic to that individual. So
Right. Because it's subjective, right?
yeah, exactly.
Like,
It's so nuanced. So
yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
think that's a thing to talk about where it's kind of a stigma, right? That you can't say you have trauma unless it's like,
Big, like something
yeah.
very big, like a very big trauma. I was really lucky that not lucky. I guess I should rephrase that. My cousin went through a pretty traumatic event, a big trauma.
Mhm.
And she went through the process of EMDR therapy, and just shout out to her because she encouraged me to go through EMDR. And then that was reinforced by one of my doctors, whom I absolutely adore her, because she is very much on the same page of like, okay, we're doing all of this work to help your hormonal health and raise your
Yes.
cortisol, because my cortisol is like rock bottom.
Oh wow.
We're doing all these things, but like if we don't address your trauma and
Yeah.
the start point of your anxiety, which is keeping you in this chronically stressed state, it doesn't matter what supplements you're on, it doesn't matter what medication you're
Yeah.
on, you will continue this
Nope.
cycle of like what got you sick in the first place.
Yep.
And it's
I
been magical.
I actually, you know how I told you I was looking at my old TikToks to make sure there was no incriminating things on there. One of my old TikToks actually says that. It was like, well, it was like to a sound or whatever, but I was talking about how I tried all these things like yoga and acupuncture and medication and this and that, and even marijuana and all these things to help
Yeah.
with my autoimmune stuff. And nothing started to get better until I addressed that underlying trauma, like
Yes.
in a real way, you
In
know?
a real way, in a
Yeah.
clinical way, and like
Yes.
yes. And it is amazing what can happen. And the amount of therapy that I recommend, I pretty much recommend therapy to almost all of my clients at some point,
Absolutely.
because
Anybody can do therapy or
every
could
and
benefit from
I feel
therapy.
like
Yeah.
everyone should do therapy. Like
Hmm.
we're just talking about how like everything is so subjective. Nobody makes it out of childhood without trauma. We're all
No.
traumatized. Like we all have it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just truly believe that like it can be such a powerful tool. And it's one of those things that's like, I wish I was a therapist, but I'm not. You got to go see somebody, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I had someone ask me that the other day because he was asking me about my yoga. And I was like, well, you know, specifically yin yoga, which is my favorite to teach, helps regulate your nervous system. And part of healing is regulating your nervous system.
mhm.
It's hard to change your thoughts and your patterns and all of that stuff without regulating the physical nervous system first. And he was like, well, you're not a therapist. Like, you don't help people with their stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't ask them. I'm like, any information they want to give me, I'm open to letting them vent or whatever, and give them advice as a friend. But like, no, I'm not a medical professional, but that still doesn't mean there's not any merit to like what I'm doing. And I don't mean this in a way. I don't feel like that's what you were saying at all. It's just a random thought I had in my head with that encounter.
No, I think we could chase this rabbit. So like I 100% agree. And through my own experience with EMDR, which is still a fairly new process for me.
I was going to say, can you share a little bit about that? Because I did exposure therapy. I only did 2 sessions, but I think what I did was different from that. It's like the rapid eye movement stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's bilateral stimulation. And it sounds crazy, but
I have heard about it.
Yes.
I've heard from other people it works.
Yes, so. It sounds crazy, but it is the #1 treatment for veterans coming back who have experienced PTSD. Like even the government is like, yes, this works. So that's like, for me, I'm like, okay, if the government says something works, I mean, I guess like, well, let's cut that out.
We won't chase that rabbit today.
No, let's cut that out because I don't believe that. I just mean like, if they're implementing it, I guess that's really what I meant. Let's back up here. Because I don't believe
you're fine. I'm keeping that in.
Yeah, I'm like
sound effects and everything.
Nick Miller, like moonwalking out of the podcast because that is not what I think. This is where stuff gets taken out of context potentially. Yeah. Like, when Rachel loves the government.
When you put yourself out on the internet, if there's anything I've learned from accidentally going TikTok famous or viral or whatever you want to call it, is you could be pushing the most positive message and there's still somebody that's going to take it out of context and be angry.
Oh my God. And just be such a troll. So
yeah, it is what it is.
I think what I meant was that it's like a well-established treatment.
Yes. Yeah. It's evidence-based.
Evidence-based. Yes. And really, and like I said, I'm still early on my journey. I have my first reprocessing session next week. So we've gone through all the preliminary stages. It's a very structured process. Whereas like you go through specific, phases as far as like the therapy goes. And so like you get to know your therapist, you build a relationship of trust, you learn about like, when we talk about stress and we talk about the way we live our lives, like we talk about the window of tolerance. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay. So like this turned into a therapy podcast, but if you think of like the way you live your life, or you think of yourself as like a house, like you have your window of tolerance, which is your main part of your house where you live. This is where you feel good. You feel like you can handle situations. You don't get overwhelmed. Your heart, like the physical manifestations of that is like your heart rate is not super elevated. You just feel really like, you're not like, not everything's perfect. Again, it's not like love and light inside the house.
Baseline.
Exactly. And then you have the attic. And that is where like, you can think of the attic as like anxiety. So like really high stress, overwhelmed, heart racing, sweating, that kind of stuff. And then the basement is like depression, dissociation, where like you're trying to just not be present, and dissociation and depression. So really what we've been working on in this phase leading up to the first reprocessing is just being mindful of like what my window of tolerance is, being mindful of like when I feel like I'm in the attic. I'm very rarely in the basement. I live in my attic all the time. I'm like a little attic troll, like little witch in the attic. Yes. Just, that's how it feels. So just being mindful of that and noticing like what helps me get out of that. And we talk about the sympathetic and this is the whole point of what I was talking about. We talk about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system and things that we can do, because when you're in that state, when you're in the attic, when you're in that stressful, high anxiety state, you literally, that part of your brain that is able to get you back into your window of tolerance is literally turned off. Yep. Like it's off. Like you can't access.
All about the nervous system regulation,
which is your physical body, which is like why we go to therapy, so that we can heal. We heal the physical body, because I talk to people about this all the time. I'm like, our emotions aren't these like floaty little, it's not like the miasma. Like, remember when they used to think that like when you got sick, it was like ghosts in the air, basically. They thought it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
our emotions aren't these like
Nope. They get
miasma
stored in
things.
your body.
Yes. And they start in your body. Like, our emotions
Yep.
are chemicals. Like, we are
Yep.
physical creatures. We are, we are not, again, like, it's, what
That's
am I
why
trying to
I
say?
always, sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, what the point I'm trying to make. I'm getting a little amped up about it,
Oh, you're fine.
but
That's why I always tell people, I'm like, yoga is not a replacement for therapy. It's a great buddy for therapy. Like,
yes,
you should be doing the two of these things together
you need
so
both
that
of
you
these
can
things.
physically regulate your nervous system and then do whatever else you need to do that's evidence-based with your therapist. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
I
And
think
it's
I
magic.
was just asking you to elaborate on it because I have in my own personal experience, I did 2 sessions of exposure therapy, which is basically just you. I didn't learn any of that, by the way. They basically like ask you to pick out your most traumatic memory and then you talk about it over and over again with your therapist
Yeah.
until you're desensitized. And I was like, I did 2 sessions before I went to my yoga teacher training. And I was there like day 2 meditating because we would meditate for 30 minutes in the morning. And while I'm meditating the second day, I was like, this ain't it. This isn't it. This is not the way that I make it through. I got to
Yep.
stop doing exposure therapy because it was like re-traumatizing me and it was sending my
Yeah.
body back into and
When you'd
I
already
was
done
like,
a lot of work to heal, it had kind of like was bringing it back up and
yeah.
not in a safe and like controlled manner.
Yeah.
And EMDR, what we do is we will look at like present day situations. So like how this is manifesting in a very
Okay.
specific way. So like we talk about people pleasing. I very much, I am very hyper vigilant. I'm very hyper aware of other people's body languages. And when
Yeah.
I think I pick up on something, I am like, especially like when we talk about my relationship with my husband, I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah.
I know something's wrong. I know something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then something's wrong because I've pestered the shit out of him. But when really I'm picking up on something that's totally like, it's not
Yeah.
related. Like he's thinking about something
It
else,
has
like
nothing to do
whatever.
with you.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
so we take that and we try to connect with the very first time that I felt that way. So the very first time that I experienced wanting to fix a situation like that or
Oh.
control a situation or understand. And so you identify the very earliest, what you think is the very earliest memory of that.
Okay, so
And
what do I do if I don't remember any of my childhood?
right. So
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be funny.
but that's a very real
But
thing. Like
really.
when you have trauma, you have a really bad memory, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't remember a lot of your childhood. I asked my therapist this actually, and she said that things will actually come up. And it's not like memories, like repressed memories are going to just pop up, but it's more like, oh, I haven't thought about that in a very long time. I forgot that that was a memory that I had
Oh, yeah,
is
okay.
kind of what it's like. And so you think about it, and then they use the bilateral stimulation basically to pull that memory, which is stuck because of trauma, is stuck
Yeah.
and locked in your long-term memory. They pull it forward to your short-term memory and you reprocess it in a safe space. And then it goes
Mhm.
back to long-term storage. And you're able to, because what happens with trauma is that memory is basically locked up. You don't have
Yeah.
access to it as like
Mhm.
to process it logically.
Yeah. It's
And
fun.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go
I was gonna
ahead.
interrupt.
No, you're
I
good.
was gonna say, no, that does make sense to me because in the 2 sessions that I did do, I actually did, I don't know if you would call it a repressed memory or like I had the memory, but I didn't have the rest of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because my brain had blocked it out.
Yeah.
And then once I that came to the surface, I know why my brain blocked it out,
You're like,
Um,
whoa.
yeah. But it literally made me physically ill. It made me like want to throw up. And I was
Yeah.
like, and I think that for me was just a little too much. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Especially with like a big trauma like that. I can't even imagine like what
yeah.
exposure therapy must have been like. Because exposure therapy is, I feel like known for being kind of intense because
Oh
you are
yeah.
just like exposing yourself to something that literally traumatized you.
Yeah. Well, she did make me feel better because when I told her like, hey, I don't think this is for me, she said, don't feel bad. Like, I don't remember the percentage, but it was really high. She was like, the majority of people don't make it through all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
can
I was
imagine.
like, oh,
It's
okay.
you're like, oh, I see why.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so I feel like I didn't realize like the way that the trauma in my life was getting in my way until I started looking at it through that lens. And I was like, oh, like these specific aspects of my life, like when you think of like patterns that show up in your life, patterns that show up in your relationship with others, with yourself, it's like we like to blame other people. Like I just wish my husband would XYZ, or I just wish my
Yeah.
sister or my brother would XYZ, when really you could look at it through like, what's my part in this?
Yeah. Personal accountability.
And it's rough. It's rough because
It is, yeah.
especially me being my Virgo manifestor self, I'm like, I'm great and I'm fine. You guys, you guys need to work on your shit. Turns out I needed to work on my shit.
Yeah, doesn't everybody? Yeah.
So I don't remember speaking of trauma, something that is on my list that we could talk about is medical trauma.
Oh yeah.
And that's a deep one. I don't know how long you want this podcast to be. I'm like, how long have we been
It can
talking?
be as long as we want it to be.
Yeah.
Actually, I I very much am happy with our what was I trying to say? Like, how do I want to articulate this? I am happy with the flow of it.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing the white rabbit throughout the podcast
Yes.
because I just think it's we're staying true to the vibe between the two of us. You know, we're feeling it.
Yes.
So I mean, is there anything specific that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on, like in regards to our theme for this, which is awaken your inner strength, right? Is that what we decided? You decided?
Yeah. So we've talked about like the business side of things, and we've talked
Mhm.
about like full spectrum wellness
Oh,
and
you know
oh
what we
yeah.
need to talk about? The retreat.
Yes. That.
Yeah. So
Um
maybe if there's not anything else that you like
yeah.
that you feel we really need to hit on, we can kind of close up with talking about the retreat. And
Yeah.
then I mean you're gonna be back, so it's not
I know.
we can talk again.
Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing. We could
Yeah.
I'm starting an interview style podcast, so I'll have you on and we'll
Oh, I love that.
yes, I'm doing it on Patreon. I'm so
Oh, that's
excited because
okay.
after talking to you about it, they do take a steep percentage, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, guys, like you're real proud of this platform.
Yeah.
But I am really excited about starting that. Again, just messy action, just trying new things, just testing
Mm-hmm.
the water, seeing what I like. But so yeah, so I'll have to have you on there. I'm gonna do
Yeah. I would love that.
some cool stuff on
I
there.
would love to talk about all the yoga stuff and regulating your nervous system.
Yes, I want to
Because I
hear about
geek
that.
out.
I want to hear all about that. That's what we'll have you on. We'll talk about that. So I'm super excited for the retreat. Like I have been thinking about this since last year because I was like, because I train online, right? Like, so I
Mhm.
coach online, and I make all of these amazing connections and build these amazing relationships with these women that we get very, very close in these coaching
Mhm.
containers, like very close. And then I never see them in person. I've got clients in New York and Boston, and I had clients in Florida, and I do have a lot of clients in Texas just because that's where I'm from originally.
Can
But
relate.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's starting to really expand. And it's like, I want to be in the same room as these women. Like I want these
Mhm.
women to meet these other women, because if you find your way to my private coaching container, like we vibe,
Yeah.
like you're a soulmate client, right? Like, it's like you're very ideal, and like we just really vibe. And so it's like I have like I'm so excited for these women to meet each other.
I'm
um
excited too.
I am so excited that you're coming. It's going to be a whole thing. And so I was like, I thought about it last year. I was like, I should just do a retreat. And then you get in your head about things. You're like, oh, you know, we talk about that.
It's intimidating.
It is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, like, will people really like that? Will people come? You get into like the self-worth piece of like, am I
Mm-hmm.
worthy of having people come to this?
Will people pay for this?
Will people
people
pay for
pay what it's
this?
worth?
Right. Because this
Yeah.
is a luxury event. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
am pulling out all the stops. This is not like a
Girl, I saw the
conference.
private chef and I was like, yes,
Yes.
please.
Yes. Depending on whoever comes, all of their dietary preferences, that private chef might be a like world-renowned sushi chef, like depending on how everyone feels about sushi.
I love
Um,
sushi.
I do too. Everyone so far is a sushi fan, so we'll see. But it's a luxury event. Like I did not want to put on like your typical conference where like you get a little goodie bag and it has a koozie and a pen in it and you wear a
You're like,
badge. Like
cool. I'm never going to use this again.
right. Like I paid, you know, you pay 800 to $1,000 for a conference like that. And yes, you're paying for
Mm-hmm.
the speakers, you're paying for that, the event space like that. But this, I wanted this to be luxury. And I wanted it because I'm very much, so many of the women that I work with have a very hard time prioritizing themselves and making time for themselves. And I wanted to create
Same.
space for that.
Yeah.
And like to create space for that, like it's different. It's just different. So yeah, so like that self-worth piece of like, okay, are people gonna pay this? But it's going great. And I'm so like, we're gonna do yoga with you, which is gonna be, I'm so excited. Like
Me too.
I'm so
I'm
excited that
so
like,
excited to teach in person again. I love teaching in
yes,
person.
yes. And you're doing a fundraising picnic as well, like right before the retreat, right? So
Mhm.
hopefully if I can
Yes,
come down a little early, I'll do that with you.
on the 9th. So it's a
Okay.
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get there a little bit early. It actually kind of worked out perfectly because I'm gonna be in Wyoming. My plans changed.
Yes.
I got another job working on a ranch over the summer.
I'm so jealous. That's going to be
So
amazing. So
yeah, it was
amazing.
very unexpected. But again, I looked into work camping and all these opportunities came up and I was like, I'm gonna run with it and apply for everything. And
I'm super pumped to see your episode about this because my husband wants to live in an RV really badly. And I haven't figured out how to make it work yet, but I'm really excited to
so
watch that.
yeah, that's what my video is on. Basically answering all the logistical questions I get about like how does mail work? How does laundry work? How does finding a site work? How do you pay for that? How do you make money? And I don't talk about things that are personal to me necessarily because I
Right.
don't think those would be applicable to everyone else. But one of the big things was the work camping. I was like, why are y'all gatekeeping this secret? Because before we started
Yeah.
full-time RVing, we watched like 200 plus videos trying to learn and everything that we could.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a single person mentioning that. So I was like, all right,
You're
we
like, yeah, this
don't
is a thing.
we don't
This is,
gatekeep on this channel. So
yeah.
I'm spilling the secret.
I am too. Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna be in Wyoming.
And then down to
And so I'm
Texas.
gonna fly from Wyoming. Well, there's not a ton of flights from
I can't
I'm actually
imagine.
gonna
Yeah.
fly from Montana. So there's not a ton of
Okay.
flights. So I have to leave on the 8th and come back on the 18th. And so I was like, well, because we were considering doing the picnic on a weekday, like right before we do the retreat. And then I told Danny, who owns Peaceful Picnic, I was like, well, I'm going to be there on 9/9 is when I wanted to do it originally anyway, when I thought I was coming to Texas. And so it all worked out how it was
Amazing.
supposed to. And yeah, we're still looking for a location, but yeah, we're set for sure on 9/9.
Very cool.
It's going to be really cool. We're doing like a summer dreamy nights meets like disco vibe. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If I can come early, I will be there. Like
I would love for you to join us.
Yes,
Yeah.
like that sounds so amazing. It's gonna be a really crazy, it's going to be crazy. We are going to Africa this summer with my family. My mom works for U.S. Fish and I know that's like, it's like, what?
I'm like, I'm going to Wyoming and you're like, cool, I'm going to Africa.
It's not typical for us. I know that sounds anytime I say it, I'm always like, this sounds ridiculous and bougie. I get it. My mom works for U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Baby.
Right, exactly. We're out here working. But she works for U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and she's going over there for a tour of duty. So she goes over there and she trains in Botswana, in Gaborone. She's training agents over there for what she does, which can be anything. I mean, she trains on a lot of different stuff. They're wildlife agents. But she's going there for work. She went last year and she was like, this would be a great family vacation. And so me and my husband and my dad are all going to fly up after her tour of duty and meet her and go safari. Yeah. So it's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing. Like Africa is not on my bucket list to visit, but it's going to be such an amazing like family experience. But we get back from Africa, I don't know, 1 week, 2 weeks before the retreat. So yeah, I'm gonna like, and God love my mom. I
gotta recover from the jet lag.
Yes, exactly. It's gonna be, and we're only there for 4 days. So we travel for almost 2 or 3 days on the front end because we fly into South Africa and we stay the night in South Africa, and then we fly into we take a puddle jumper into Gaborone into Botswana, and then stay there the night, and then we drive back into the northern side of South Africa. So it's like 3 days of travel on the front end and the back end, and then 4 days safari. So like, it's going to be a thing. So it's going to be a little crazy, but if I can come early, I'm going to be there because that sounds amazing. And I actually, I wanted to get Danny to come out for the retreat, but she has an event that day. So I was really sad. I know. Yeah. I know. She sent me some recommendations for some other people, which is like, such the vibe when you own a business, like to be like, I can't do it, but here's some amazing others in this industry.
Oh, I love her like that. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about getting like plugged into the community that I have is like, it's so refreshing to meet other people that match your energy, because I feel like sometimes you're like, am I the only person that's like this?
Yes.
or are there other people like me, you know?
Right.
So yeah.
And it can feel the big wide world of social media and like the internet can feel it's supposed to make us feel connected, but it can feel very isolating.
And disconnected.
So disconnected, which is a whole nother topic.
Yeah, we won't chase that rabbit today.
No, not today.
So do you want to give a little rundown of like what the retreat includes?
Yeah. So it is going to be Thursday through Sunday. I'll just kind of run through the agenda a little bit. So it'll be Thursday through Sunday. We'll have a welcome celebration as everyone arrives, whether they're driving or flying. We'll have a big grazing table, and we're going to have an spiritual intuitive coming out to do a group reading to help us set intention for the weekend. I'm so excited. I've actually had her out. I had her when I lived in New Braunfels. She came out and did like individual readings at this had a Halloween party, and she came out and did this, and it was so much fun. And I love her style because it is more intuitive and more like reflective. You use it as a tool. She uses tarot and things like that as a tool to.
Who is it?
Avery.
Okay. I was like, are we thinking of the same person?
Yes.
No, I don't know.
So
it's a small world. You never know.
It is. Well, especially like New Braunfels, like Central Texas area, which is where I'm like sourcing everyone. Just why I did the retreat there, because I'm from there and it felt like an easier place to navigate this. A quick access to Austin. So there's so much stuff in Austin as well. But so she's going to come out, we're going to do a group reading and set intentions for the week. Friday and Saturday is going to be a combination of like, we're going to be doing yoga with you. So we'll have group movement. There's also going to be, speakers coming out. I've already got 2 amazing speakers lined up, and I'm so excited about. I have I have an LPC coming out, Bobby Melton, and she's going to be talking about body image flexibility. So loving your life when you don't like your body. Oh, I'm so excited for that. I think it's such an applicable topic. We don't think of like body image as being flexible. And then I have Elise Cho coming out, who is she's actually the doctor that I've been working with, and she's going to be talking about hormonal health. She's going to be talking about like how to, it's her topic isn't set in stone, but this is kind of like the high level that we talked about. So like cortisol levels, building a routine that actually supports your hormonal levels, that fits in with your life, and things like that. So super excited.
That's really exciting, because I feel like sometimes when people say they have speakers, you're like, okay.
Right. Like about like, what?
Is it gonna, well, because I feel like sometimes people will add speakers for like fluff and not actual use. Both of those sound like such applicable things to everything that we talked about, right? And everything that your brand stands for. So and it can be like useful information that can benefit you and your clients, you know.
100%. Really cool. Like I just was like, what do I want to listen to somebody talk about? Like, what am I excited to learn about? And like, I know because exactly that's how I do things. Like we follow that intuition of like, what do I enjoy, and just making that available to others. And so I'm so excited about those 2 coming out. I am still looking for potentially a 3rd speaker. I'm going to be teaching a section on boundaries, and setting boundaries.
Well, I do know one other person that's going to be there.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
If you don't find anybody else.
You might be docked for talking about the nervous system. That might be a really, really fun thing to talk about, especially like with everything we just discussed on here. But so Friday and Saturday will be that. It'll also be because it's September in Texas, right? Like it's hot. It is full on summer. So
yeah, I guess it would be.
It's full on summer. My birthday's in September, so I'm like, it's always hot.
You're like, I know.
It's always really hot. So a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing is like going to be in the morning, but I'm even thinking about keeping things a little bit more casual and fun. And we might do some of these sessions in the pool. There's a beautiful infinity pool that overlooks the hill country. And so there's no reason why we can't all just like sit on the edge of the pool or something like that and have these sessions. It does not have to be like, my vibe is not conference table structured, right? Like we're not going to be like doing this. So we'll be doing that. And then most of the afternoon is going to be kind of like a combination of open time and like just connection and hanging out. So we'll be in the pool. There's 10 acres on the property that has trails cut into it, so we can go for walks, or we can just be in the pool and not be burning up because it's going to be summer. So there'll be some space for that. Then I'm also bringing out a spa service company who is going to be giving.
I saw that.
I'm so excited for this. So you'll have a choice of a 45-minute massage, a facial, a pedicure, or a manicure. And so everyone will get to pick their own treatment. I have a feeling it'll be a lot of massages. That's probably going to be the most popular one. But yeah, so we'll have that as well. I think it'll be on Saturday. Then Saturday evening is our farewell celebration. That's when we're going to have the chef. I'm still planning out what kind of like the party is going to be like, because I definitely want it to be, it's going to be a fun farewell celebration. And the other thing that I'm doing that I'm actually really excited about is these personalized gifts. So there's everyone who attends is going to have a questionnaire sent out to them that is, I mean, anything and everything to help me really personalize a very special gift for each individual person.
Wow. So you're talking like really personalized.
Very personalized.
Like a keychain with your name on it.
Right. Exactly. Like personalized gifts. So like, I'm trying to get really creative with the questions of like, so there's some basic ones that's like, pick a favorite color, pick a color you hate, like, but there's also going to be like, pick a flavor profile. Cause like, I'm going to be bringing in some like mocktails and things like, it's going to be an alcohol-free event.
I love that.
Yes. Like it's,
I saw that. I didn't know because it wasn't something we openly talked about, but I
mhm.
did see that you mentioned you were alcohol free, and so am I. And I was like, oh my gosh, I knew I loved her.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and so this is going to be an alcohol-free event. But there is going to be mocktails. I found like there's a lot out there that are like adaptogen mocktails and things like that. So like we're still going to be
Yes, I love
vibey.
that.
Yes, like we're still going to be very chill and but the questionnaire is going to be like pick your favorite flavor profile out of these sections. Pick scents, like a scent combination that you like.
Oh, cool.
Do you
Okay.
like gold jewelry? Do you wear silver jewelry? Like just to get an idea of like how would you define your personal style? And so the like what is your human design? What is your zodiac? What is your enneagram? Like all of these things. What's your love language? All of these things to figure out like to really bring in a very personalized set of gifts for people. So, and it's one of these weird things that I'm just like obsessed with right now. Like that is my favorite part of this retreat. There's a lot of amazing things, but like super excited about these very personalized gifts because I think we've all been there. We've gone to these events, we've gone to these retreats or
And
these
paid a lot of money.
experiences and paid a lot of money. And then, yeah, you
Yeah.
get a keychain with your name on it, or like, not that it's bad, but all you get
Yeah.
the drinkware with your name on it is like a huge,
Yeah.
like I can't even describe how many Yetis I got.
Well,
Not that
I
that's a
think,
bad gift. It's a great gift, but it's typical.
yeah, I think that sometimes it's not about the monetary value or like receiving something. It's just like, and maybe this goes back to what we talked about earlier, expecting from others what I would do, which
Yeah.
is just putting more thought into it. It's like knowing that that person is appreciative of your time just like you're appreciative of theirs. You know what I mean? So I think,
Yes.
yeah, it adds that nice um touch of like, I care about you as a person, not as just a client or a number or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And like this is an event that's about connection. Like it's about
Yes.
connection and collaboration. And like how can I say that this event is about connection if I'm not trying to connect with you on a
Oh,
deeper
I
level?
love what you said on your Instagram story where you were like, you're not a cookie. Like,
Yes.
not cookie cutter
It's not
because
cookie
you're not a
cutter. You're
cookie.
not a
Yeah.
cookie. We're not all these like perfectly baked cookies. So yeah, so just like I felt like to make someone feel connected, right? To make someone feel understood. Like something like that, something like a gift has to be extremely personalized. Like there has to be a lot of thought into it because like that's the first like they're gonna get this gift. It's gonna be their first, like I'm very much about experience. And so
Mhm.
client
Yes, me too.
experience. Yes, it's so important. And so like I'm
Yeah.
thinking about these people arriving after traveling, they go to their
That's what,
room
I don't mean to
and
interrupt
yeah,
you.
you're
That's what makes you good at what you do.
yeah.
That's what sets people apart from just, the people who are in my opinion, the people that will be successful versus the people who are not is just that little bit of extra oomph, you know?
Yes, of
So,
like put myself in their shoes, right?
mhm.
Like
Yeah.
what
You're
does that
getting what you would
experience
want
look
to
like?
receive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just like that little extra thought. Cause like I just imagine them showing up and they get into their room and they've just been traveling and then they open up this gift and then it's generic. Like that's just not the
Yeah.
vibe, right? Like there's no thought there. And so I want them to feel understood and connected. And so that when they come
It's
to
special.
share,
Yeah.
yes, because they
Yeah.
are,
Hmm.
and you've made this big investment in yourself because retreats like this can be, we talk about motivation. These retreats can be the reason why somebody like they have a huge mindset shift. They connect
Oh,
with people on
absolutely.
a deeper
Yeah.
level. They connect with others on a similar journey. And like these in-person retreats, like I'm going to one for my business in June. And like I am pumped about it because I get to meet other online coaches in the industry, which is so
Yeah.
weird. You don't meet online coaches in the
Yeah.
industry in person very often. And so
Yeah.
I want that excitement for people. And so it's definitely this passion baby, this little love child that's come out of this. And so one of these messy action things that I'm trying, and I'm so excited that you're going to be a part of it.
Me too. Also, it will be good for me to kind of pick your brain on the logistics of stuff because that was one of the main reasons I launched the nonprofit. As much as I like teaching like donation based in person, my goal is eventually to offer free paid retreats, sponsored retreats for people that are recovering from trauma. And I've been like brainstorming a lot here recently with, sorry, it like cut out. So I didn't know if you said something.
Oh, no, I didn't. I hit my cord. I gotta like figure out what to do with this thing.
But I've been like brainstorming recently about how I was going to make that work. And I think part of what I'm going to do is like have it be part like paid people, because there are people that are in my community that could afford a retreat.
Right.
And then there are people that can't. So what I love about that too is that we're all showing up and nobody knows who paid and who didn't,
Yeah.
So it's going to be cool for me to get to experience this with you and kind of be like, okay, here's some takeaways that I can do this and yes. serve as inspiration, right?
Yes. Well, and I'm like 100%. And like, that's what I'm hoping to get out of my retreat in June is like, I'm going to see like, okay, this is
yeah, because you're going first. I love.
Right. Like I'm going to one in June. And then I would love to hear your notes after you come in September of like, okay, this was great. This could use work, like that kind of stuff.
Constructive feedback from somebody you trust, even though this is
messy
their first
action
time
phase.
Talking in person.
Yeah. When the vibe is there, the vibe is there.
This is Leah and Rachel on Love is Blind Best Friends Edition.
I love it. Awaken. This is like, I know we said awaken your inner strength, but I'm like, now I think it should be something else.
Why?
I don't know.
I actually think it works perfect with everything that we talked about.
True. It is. It is.
Everything we talked about was fully encompassing. So it's funny because we were like, did we miss anything we want to talk about in this 2 hours?
I know. We're coming up on 2.5.
Oh, shit. It's okay because some of it will be edited out, but
yeah, you'll have a lot. You're going to have a lot of content to work with.
Yeah, that's okay.
You're like future editing Leah is not super pumped.
Yeah, but... right. I'm all like, that's okay. And then I'm like editing like, that's not okay. No, I stopped putting like too much pressure on myself with that stuff. That was like the whole decision to step away from Patreon and all that. But yeah, no, like we were like, oh, did we hit on everything we want to hit on? And I think staying true to both of us and our vibe, which was I think we hit on everything we were supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Following or going along with our the theme that you picked. So
yeah,
I think it was great. And
thank you
for joining me. Thanks for taking so much time out for me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an amazing experience. I'm so excited to be here. Like this was awesome.
Yay. Well, I look forward to more in the future. Sorry, that was weird. Let me see. I was like, why's my hand up here? No, but I do look forward to, doing this more in the future, us doing a podcast episode when we're together in person right before the retreat, and all of the cool collaboration things to come in the future, because I'm sure this isn't this is the first, it won't be the last. And yeah, so I'm super excited. Thanks for connecting with me. I appreciate it.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much.